When the Dajjal comes out, he doesn't call himself an Imam. You know what he calls himself? He calls himself Prophet Isa alayhi salam himself. He calls himself Prophet Isa. Huh? The Dajjal calls himself, I am Prophet Isa. But he's lying. Listen to what the Prophet ﷺ said. He said, one night, he was going on Isra wal Mi'raj. You know Isra wal Mi'raj, the story? Okay. So he said, Jibreel alayhi salam took me to the Kaaba. And I was praying at the Kaaba. This hadith is in Sahih Muslim for whoever wants to see it. Lots of the hadiths are in Muslim and Bukhari. There's heaps. You can read them up and see all the hadiths about it. He says, he took me in front of the Kaaba. And then after I finished, I looked to my right or left, and I see a young man. His hair is nice and long. It comes up to his shoulders. It's neither too straight nor too wavy. And it looks like water is on it, but it doesn't really have water. So it's got really beautiful, silky, shiny hair. And his face, his features is dark, Adami, which means he's got a dark features. And he had two people with him that he was putting his hands on their shoulders. And I liked the way he looked. So I asked Jibreel, who is that? And Jibreel said, that is your brother Isa alayhi salam. Isa ibn Maryam, the real Isa. He goes, then I looked to the other side and I saw another young man. And this young man, he was one of the biggest sizes that I've ever seen. He wasn't tall, but he was just big. And his hair was very coarse, very rough hair, right? And one of his eyes, the right eye, it was bulging like a grape, but the you know the black part, you know the iris, you know the inside, it's like a sultana. He can't see from it. It's gone, so he can't see from it. It's blind from the right eye, and the left eye, he also called it in another hadith. He says it's a'war as well. A'war means it's deformed. A'war doesn't mean blind, it means deformed. So you're going to see hadiths which Prophet ﷺ said his right eye is deformed. Sometimes we'll say his left eye is deformed. What it means is that the right eye, he cannot see from it, mutfi'ah, he doesn't see it. And the left eye also looks unusual. It's got like a piece of meat under it, and it doesn't look normal. I think he even has a different color, but he can see from it. So both his eyes are deformed. They don't look normal. But one, the right eye can't see from it, the left eye can see from it. That's why he's called Al-A'war al-Dajjal, the one with the deformed eyes. It doesn't necessarily mean the one-eyed Dajjal. You know how sometimes they put on the movies a big, what do you call it, Cyclops. You know the Cyclops with one big eye here? Yeah, you've seen them on Lord of the Rings, big Cyclops. So it's just something connecting with the young ones. So he's got a big eye. That's not what the Dajjal looks like. The Dajjal, he sees with one eye, which is the left, but both his eyes are deformed, okay? So Prophet ﷺ is describing him to us so well. Anyway, he says, and he had two people and he was, leaning on their shoulder. And the Prophet ﷺ said, oh Jibreel, who is that? And he said, that is Al-Masih Ad-Dajjal. In another hadith, he actually said something else. Said, Isa ibn Maryam is Al-Masih As-Sadiq.
If you're Muslim and you were ever wondering why your ears were ringing, well, the Prophet ﷺ tells us why this happens and also what to do if it happens to you. So the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us that when you hear your ears ringing, that means that someone is mentioning you. And that doesn't mean that we think ill about other Muslims. We start making wrongful assumptions. Oh, it's this person, it's that person, they're talking bad about me. No, we don't do this. Rather, the Prophet ﷺ, he taught us to say this, to do this. So firstly, he taught us to mention him, to make salah upon him, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So say, Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, for an example. And then he taught us to say this, ذكر الله من ذكرني بخير. So you're basically making dua for the person who mentioned you in a good way.